Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Friday, the 13th of December, and we have some exciting things going on in the market to close out the week today. The first thing, if we take a look at the markets in the Bloomberg app and the futures, you can see that it is green across the screen for the U.S. indices. We've had some great results come out last night, and the market treated them as such. So a bit of a surprise in a couple of cases. So we're going to touch upon that in just a second. But good results, and that's pushing up all of the indices. We had a bit of a rough day yesterday, especially in the NASDAQ. But let's take a look at the Yahoo Finance app and see where we've landed and what's going on today. So we take a look at the crude oil futures. We can see that it is near $70.50. Just below that. So I thought yesterday, because crude was up again, that it would help oil stocks and they would do pretty well and have a bit of a recovery because they had a bit of a slump earlier in the week. And that was just not the case. There was no correlation yesterday between crude rising and then the oil refining or refinery stocks rising as well. So that was a bit of a disconnect, and that happens from time to time. It's just sometimes you kind of anticipate these correlations, and that's how the market works. Sometimes things don't work out as you anticipate. Otherwise, people would probably game the system. So that's where we are. I think we could see an uplift today in those oil refining stocks. And by an uplift, like I'm looking for a 2 to 4% gain in a stock like Valero at some point over the next week. It may not be today, but I can't see us ending next week with Valero below 138. So that's kind of where I think it's going to land. And right now it's back into the high 120s. So I think there's a good percentage move baked in there. It just depends on when it's going to come. It may not come next week. It may come the first week of January. But I have to believe Valero as a company, which reports in mid-January, late January, is likely $140 to $45 stock by, I'm going to call it early February. So that's where we are with oil. We'll take a look at the individual stocks in a second. We can see that the VIX is down below 14 now, so that's good. It did pop up above 14 and now is below. So let's take a look at our list. So we had a big report yesterday from Costco. Costco came out and kind of as predicted here, this stock has had a huge run up. It's gone from the 890s within the last 60 days up to the $1,000 range recently, I believe earlier this week or last week. Now it's dropped down into the high 980s, low 990s. And it had great results yesterday, which helps to confirm that consumers in the U.S. are spending, and that's a positive sign for the economy and the incoming Trump administration. So any administration that's turning over wants to see the economy strong, and so this bodes well for America in general. But the stock isn't popping, and we said that it really wouldn't pop yesterday because it's already had a run-up of almost $100 in, call it 30 to 45 days. So it's had a bit of a run, more than 10%. To pop on earnings, they would have to be exceptional, usually. So this is staying relatively flat. Maybe it'll pop when the session opens in the morning. But right now, it's relatively flat, and that's okay because it's still holding at a great price. Lululemon took a bit of a dive yesterday. I mean, down $10. It's a significant dip for that stock. And then if we look across the board just at the pre-market, most of the other companies in retail, as well as health, are in the green at this point. We're an hour and 24 minutes away from the open. So that's where we are there. Transport, CNR continues to fall. So CNR dropped down into the 147s yesterday, closed at 148.88. It'll be really interesting to see where this stock finds a bottom because it is just continuing its descent and it's a great company. So it'll be very, very interesting to see where this company ends up in terms of a price, or where the stock ends up in terms of a price, because I think we're getting near the bottom. And I think it has the potential to get back up into the 170s in 2025. We just have to wait to see when that hits bottom and then look at an opportunity to buy in. Now we get into oil stocks, and you can see here it was an abysmal day yesterday, red across the screen, except crude futures now, which are up. up. But we can see that in terms of the pre-market, ton of green on the screen. And Valero, which was up 30 cents just a few minutes ago when I started the video, is now up $2. So I do think yesterday was a great buying opportunity when Valero dropped into the high 120s at 129 to pick some of that up and take a bit of a profit today. And I think it'll continue to move up, especially if crude continues to stay above 70.40. So we'll have to wait and watch crude, and then we'll see whether the correlation effect kicks in and the oil refining stocks also get a boost from that. Then we look at our tech stocks. And again, semis were down across the board yesterday. But so Micron was off. We had down almost $4. I bought some Micron in the 98s, and it looks like it's going to have a nice little pop, get back into the hundreds today. NVIDIA was off yesterday. It's up in the pre-market. And then the big one yesterday that announced after market hours, and this surprised me. I was in and out of this stock yesterday a couple of times, and then I bought in and sold in the post-market after earnings announcements, was Broadcom. And what surprised me about this is they announced good earnings and revenue and a strong future forecast, but the future forecast was in line with what they had already released. And yet this stock is up 17% this morning. So I was expecting a bump of maybe $5, $9. It closed in around 181. So I'm thinking it might get up to 185, 190, somewhere in there. It's at 210. Like, this goes against all logic in my mind. And again, you can't apply logic to the stock market because a lot of it is fear of missing out, and there's a lot of other elements to it. But for this stock to be up 17% on this earnings report and have a news article out saying that Apple has finally worked out its own chip and is moving away from Broadcom as a manufacturer over to TSM, I would have thought this stock would have been hurt a little bit by that news, but it wasn't, obviously. The market just ignored that data point, and it is flying high. So hopefully you bought in yesterday and you've made a killer return, and I would tell you to take your profits today because I don't think it's going to stay up in the 210 range, but who am I to make that call? I'm a guy who makes a lot of good calls, so I would listen to that and take your profits. Moving down, we've got some of our favorites, but overpriced. Meta, Tesla on a run. Like, I just don't understand the valuations here. It blows my mind that Tesla is up there, but you can't fight the bulls on that one. So just wait and see where it tops, and then just start short selling on the downside. And then we move down to Google. Google's had a great run. It's off a little bit this morning, which surprises me. Adobe got penalized yesterday, like just thrown in the penalty box because of its earnings and AI story. It's just been a disaster how they've managed this AI. What do I even call it? It's their move into AI, and they've just done an abysmal job. And I really hope that they turn things around. I think they might need a management shakeup to do that. And then the other one that I'm a huge fan of, I bought into yesterday, was TSM. TSM was down in the 191 range, low 190s, and it looks like it's going to get a nice little bump along with Broadcom. The one I'm surprised at is actually Micron, MU. I'm surprised it hasn't bumped more. Only $2 in the pre-market. It announces results next week. I'm banking on this one getting up to 110 or 112. So if not higher, based on Broadcom's results. Now, I say that, and it could do the exact opposite of Broadcom, but I do expect Micron is going to have some great results. And if it does not, I would be very, very surprised. Going down into banking, not a lot going on here, in my opinion. A lot of talk about deregulation leading to more mergers and acquisitions, which I heard yesterday someone comment. There's really no merger. It's always acquisition. So the M is kind of we'll call it a soft M. It's all about acquisitions, and there's going to be a lot more of those under the new Trump administration, which bodes well for a lot of the big investment firms like the Goldmans, the JP Morgans, the Morgan Stanley, some of the other banks as well, but to a lesser extent. But I think these are close to highs, so I'm staying away from these with the exception of SoFi, and SoFi is, again, up near the $16 range and looking very positive there. So next week is a big week. We've got the Fed announcement on Wednesday. We've got Micron earnings end of day Wednesday. And other than that, it's going to be a pretty slow week next week. So good luck with your trades. And if you're liking these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. Hopefully you're making some money and taking some profits.